Hey everybody, welcome back. Hopefully you guys are doing okay. Welcome to Random Conversations. I'm Danielle
And I'm Noel.
and we are back. So, how are you feeling today?
I'm
Are you
feeling
feeling
good.
rejuvenated? Are you ready to talk your shit?
I'm feeling good. My daughter just celebrated her second birthday, so
Yay.
I'm happy about that. Yeah, I'm in a good mood.
Yeah, I went to Red Lobster yesterday with some friends of my son.
You got cheddar biscuits?
We got the cheddar biscuits and we got some seafood boil. We had some good lobster pizza. I'm happy we went. I haven't been there in years. Y'all should go back. And the drinks are $5. So
Oh, no
not
matter what
all
time,
drinks.
no matter what time you go there.
No, there's a specific time, and we got there just in time.
Right, so what's the time?
I don't know. I just know that we got there at a specific time. We just asked them. This is not a promotion for Red Lobster anyway. We just asked them, did we make it in for the $5 drinks? They say yeah. So I was like, cool.
Okay.
That's it. We didn't care after that. I guess we could Google it and see. But you had mentioned last week after the show was finished that you want to discuss why do men and women get married.
Yeah.
I have a perception of why they get married, but since you are the one that wanted to talk about it, let me hear what you got to say before I put my 2 cents in.
Because you start thinking about why. I was thinking about why so many marriages fail, and you start thinking about you try to get to the root. So I'm thinking, why do men and women get married in the first place? And you kind of get the gist that men and women get married for very different reasons. I feel like men are more inclined to marry for love and lust, whereas women are more inclined to marry for security. I think love factors in it for them, but for women, love is a little bit lower on the totem pole. I think they look to a man. They need a man who is going to protect and provide first and foremost. And if they love him, great. You know, they might marry a man who they like a lot, not necessarily
I don't know
love,
about that.
because he provides a certain lifestyle and
Not all women are going to marry somebody just because they provide security. They have to have other intangibles as well. Like, I have to be in love with you. I'm not saying yes to you if I don't love you, because that's wasting my time and that's also wasting your time. I feel like women get married to the emotional part of a man more so than security, because if we don't connect on an emotional level, what is the point?
I would agree with you, but only for the fact
Because if
that
you're not
more and
mentally
more
there, she's not going to want to do anything with you.
I feel that more and more women are, like I said, they're in the workplace, they're working, they're making a lot of money, in a lot of instances more money than the man that they're with, and I feel that women with this newfound financial freedom, they're a little less likely to date down.
Newfound?
Yeah, I mean on average.
Oh, so he just basically said a lot of women be broke out here. That's basically what you said. That's
I didn't say
crazy.
that. I said
newfound financial
there's a
freedom.
lot more. There's a lot more women making a lot more money nowadays.
Yeah, but
than
that
in previous decades.
And that should
they're refusing.
That should go to show you that a lot of women are not marrying for stability because they could do it themselves. They have the money.
Well, they
and
can
the
definitely
means
they
to
can definitely do it for
themselves.
themselves now, right? They can do it for themselves now. But like I said previously, I don't care how successful the woman is. In my experience, you know, if you ask a woman, would you want to go 50-50 with a man? You both make good money and you combine your money together to live the life you want to live, or would you prefer to have the man who could tell you don't have to work anymore, baby, and take care of you?
Well,
and 9 times out of 10, women will say, I'm gonna quit my job. I'm gonna let that man take care of me.
But that's not the reality for most women, though.
Right? No,
women would love that, but that's not our reality.
I'm not saying that that's not the reality. I'm talking about a desire, what they would want.
Yeah,
like in a
but
perfect
it's not,
world, what they would want.
Yeah, but that's not the reality, and a lot of women are not gonna be in that circumstance.
They're not going to be in that circumstance, but a lot of women want to be in that circumstance, and that's why they don't
so
want
now
to
you
date
gotta
down.
Now you got to think logically, like, all right, I know this, so I'm not going to probably find a man that's going to say, drop everything and I'll take care of you. Because not a lot of men are, let me backtrack.
Not a lot of men are what? No, say it.
No.
Spit it out.
No.
Not a lot of men are what?
No. Yeah.
No, not a lot of men are what? No, say it.
I don't
Say
want to
it.
call y'all
No,
broke.
say it.
Well,
No,
you just
so
call
you
us
say
broke.
so you say a lot of men are broke.
Not a lot of men are going to be doing that.
They're gonna be doing what?
Telling women to drop everything that they're doing so they could just stay at home.
Not a lot of men are in the position to tell a woman that. A lot of men want to. I feel like a lot of men find a lot of purpose and they get a lot of fulfillment out of being able to provide for their family solely, and would love to do that, especially with the pressures of past generations of men. I think men today would love to be in a position where they could tell their wife, stay at home, raise our kids, and I'll go out and bring home the bacon. But it's just not the reality for most men these days because
I feel
of
like
inflation.
if I were to be in that position, I'd be bored.
No, I mean there's plenty of things for you to do in your day. Once the kids go off to school, you have 8 hours to do whatever the hell
So
it is
what
you
if that
want to do.
sparks
Before
like, oh, what if I get a business idea? Then I'll be back to working again.
I mean, yeah, but
Something that the man told me in the first place he doesn't want me to do.
But I think men want to be in a position where they can tell you don't have to work if you don't want to. There are men out there that will say I don't want you to work, but there are men that's just satisfied with knowing that they have the amount of money that if you don't want to work anymore, you could just sit back home and chill. You
Well, back
don't
to
have
what
to
I
go
was
out there.
saying, that's not the reality for a lot of women out here. So for us to marry someone, I think you would have to be in love with them. You would have to have emotional connection with them. Yeah, they will have to provide you with security, make sure that you feel secure, and also be financially responsible.
So
But
what's the higher? What do you think the hierarchy in needs are for women in general when they look at a man that they might potentially want to marry?
Well,
what is
for
the hierarchy?
me,
Like
I
give me
can't
give me
speak
like
for
give me like
everybody.
the top 4 things in order.
For me, I can't speak for everybody. It has to be emotional security. Then it has to be financial security. You have to make sure that you could provide for me. And I guess somebody that you could, well, I will have 3, not so much 4. 3. It has to be emotional security, financial security, and somebody that could provide and protect me.
Mhm.
Those are the top 3 things. And maybe looks,
Mhm.
because not every, you drop dead gorgeous men. You find them, but if their insides are not good, then what's the point?
Yeah, I mean I get
If
that.
they're not emotionally there or have a high emotional intelligence, then what's the point?
I don't think the majority of women put emotional connection at the top of their list. It might be on their list, but I don't think it's at the top.
That's why I said I can't speak
my,
for most women because
yeah, I'm just
because if I can't
I'm just
connect with you, then
I'm just a private observer who's just scrolling down his Instagram and looking on his other social media platforms and seeing what this generation of women are saying. A lot of them don't want to date down. They're looking for this high value man, right?
That's why I put financial second.
Right, but to a lot of women, financial is first. Well, at least that's what I feel.
Well, I don't. Maybe because I'm okay. I don't put finances up there like that because if you're not there, I'm gonna be able to survive by myself. So that's why it's second on my list. But if I can't connect with you, then it's a no for me.
And I was telling you there was a situation. A friend of my wife and I, she was in a relationship. And she was in this relationship with this guy, and he helped her through one of the toughest points in her life, right? And she was very appreciative of him and everything that he did during that time. And we thought they were gonna stand the test of time. It sounded like just a perfect situation. And then fast forward like a year and a half or so later, 2 years later, and they're broken up. Why? Because she felt he wasn't ambitious enough. Not because he didn't love her enough. Not because there wasn't an emotional connection. But because, he, I don't know what he does, but he's a sanitation. He works sanitation for a building, and he enjoys doing sanitation for that building, and he don't want to go any further than that. So for her, that was like a deal breaker. And And that's why I think for a lot of women that would be a deal breaker too. Say, what do you mean? All you want to do is clean buildings? All you want to do is, take out garbage? Like, is that the extent to your ambition? And maybe his ambition might be, he just want to be there for his family and whatnot. He's happy with. Some people like the simple life, but there's a lot of women who like the finer things in life and they would like a man to provide those things. Yes, you can provide those things for yourself, but it's another thing to have them provided for you. Right? It's a different type of feeling, and some women chase that feeling. A lot of women chase that feeling. So I feel that women today, they marry more so for that financial stability and security.
Yeah, no,
before the love.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with that, but now juxtapose that to men. Men marry more so for love or lust. You'll see a man be like, damn, this girl is drop dead gorgeous. She got a fat ass, everything. I don't want nobody else to have it. So they'll take it off the market. Or you have yourself a little trophy wife that you walk around with and you show off to all your friends. Not really too much of a connection there, but that's one reason why
that's why it ends up in divorce.
The thing is, you get the trophy wife, but then she might.
What if she's an airhead?
She might be solely dependent on you. So and he might like that too, the fact that she's dependent on him.
So the both of y'all are dense.
And then you have men that marry for love. You meet a girl, you love her a lot. You're not looking for her to take care of you financially or anything like that. You're not looking at her to protect you or anything like that. You just want someone to love and support you. And I think that most men marry for love. And so when I think about how marriages fail, I think is because one person is looking at it. Two people are looking at the same thing from two different perspectives. They're not aligned in why they're even together.
And that's where the emotional piece comes in. Because if you're not aligned, if you're dealing with somebody and you're not aligned with them spiritually, emotionally, it's not going to work. Mm-hmm. And you're wasting your time. Yes, she looks good, but what if she's an airhead? What if she doesn't know anything? You're intellectually up here and she's down there. You're just going to be with her just because she looked good? That's why it ends up. That's why you have
the term trophy wife. He's like, I ain't trying to hear what you think. I just want you to sit there and look pretty.
That's insane.
It's insane, but a lot of men think like that.
That is insane.
But also, on the other side of it, a lot of men marry for love. But I feel that, this generation is marrying less and less. Marriage is looked at more of as a business, and
it's a contract.
Right, and I feel that, I used to talk to my friends, and you hear from them like, oh, why get married? Why we can't just be together forever, right? Why we got to get married? Why we need a piece of paper? Why we need to do this, right? Why we need documents to prove to somebody else that we're together, right? But those same dudes end up turning around, getting married, and being happy. And I feel that now that argument is kind of twisted and turned over on the other side now. And women are saying, this is more of a contract because women have things to protect now. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
They have their money to protect because there's some men that just want to. Right. Some men do marry other women for their money too.
Yeah. Those are probably the same men that paint their nails and all that stuff.
I don't think so. Come on, stop being like that. Stop being like that. But there are some men that will just go after women just for their money and their savings.
Yeah, that's true. There's snakes in the grass.
I
on
watch
both
too
sides.
much true crime, and a lot of men kill their wives for their insurance policy.
That's crazy.
I don't want to take a morbid turn to it, but I'm just saying.
No, you're just being real.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
some men out there
different types of people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, I think the institution of marriage, is seen as more of a business now for women, more so now than in the past. So they're not as gung ho to go take chances getting married and putting their assets on the line.
There's some women that tell people no, that whoever proposes to them, no, I'm not sure yet. Mm-hmm. So,
and my whole thing is, I just wanted to say this before we move on. Women are less likely to marry down, right? They want someone on their level
and above,
mm-hmm. Right? Men have married down since the beginning of time. Right? You see a woman, she could be from a dirt poor family. You don't care. She's pretty. There's a connection. You marry her. Right? So it's just funny to me that, once women got, started to attain the assets and stuff like that en masse, that they just decided that they don't want to marry down. I'm like, you could take care, like you said, you could take care of yourself.
Well, don't you think we're conditioned like that? Because if you're saying that men marry down, the women they're always looking up. So we're not marrying down because the men that we usually deal with are always on a higher level than we are.
Right.
So we're conditioned like that.
But if you say that you want a man who has strong emotional maturity and you connect with and all that stuff, why would you, especially if you're a high value woman, right? In the sense that not just that you look good and you got a good head on your shoulders and all that, but let's just say just your financial status, you're in the top, like maybe
And
like
he's
5
lower than
percentile
mine.
or whatever, and he's lower than yours, and you just overlook him because he doesn't look at you eye to eye.
Poor, if he's not dirt poor and I'm carrying you, if he has his own way to make his own money and he's doing fine for himself, I might be making more, but if he's doing good for himself, why not?
So say you making like 150,000 and he making like 50,000.
That's no.
No.
That's like you have to.
No.
You have to be
No.
like,
No.
You
Right.
have to be like 80. But remember, I told you financial stability is number 2 on my list.
But this is,
so it is still very important.
But if you love him and he got this emotional connection, it's just so strong.
I think
right?
you're taking
but he
it
make
way too
50,000. No,
seriously.
because the thing is, I think people get accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
You take
right?
it to the extreme.
So if you live with somebody, if they're not pulling their own weight too, your lifestyle is gonna take a dip because now you're carrying 2 people with the income
like I
as
said,
opposed
if
to
he's
one.
able to carry himself and able
Well,
to
he making 50,000. He can carry himself. He
not to the. I guess
you may not be able to go
my
to.
standard of carrying himself is not 50,000.
You may not be able to go to Peter Luger's or something like that, but you could go to
My
Applebee's.
standard
They got
of
good
him
steak at
carrying himself
Applebee's.
is not 50,000. It will have to be a little bit more than that because in reality, if I'm making 100 and he's making 50, I'm going to be carrying. Why would I deal with that?
Well,
we can have an emotional connection, but financial
Yeah,
is
but
number
say-
2. And if
say-
you're not checking off the box, then I have to move
No,
on.
but say he comes home and he cleans and he cooks. So you come home like he's a real good cook. So you getting
No.
gourmet dinners every night. He rubbing your feet, rubbing your shoulders, giving you words of affirmation, all the good stuff. But he making $50,000. That's no, right?
No, it's a no.
So no, you and men that doesn't exist. You make your $50,000, you can bring it over here. I'll take care of you. All right. That's
Well, that's what I was
how
saying.
we do it.
We're conditioned like that. You got from the beginning of time, like you mentioned, it's been that way.
No, but do you think
So
that's a
conditioned
good
to-
thing? Do you think that's a good thing that women are conditioned like that? Do you think that they should break that way of thinking? Because I think you block your blessings when you shrink your pool. Because it might be a man that's just perfect for you, but he just doesn't reach the tax bracket that you think he should be on. Right? You could be way happier, but you just decide to be alone, successful and alone.
I don't think
I don't know.
anything should be. We're conditioned. It's been like that, like you said. We're just following your lead, I guess.
Well, you know what? I reject that because men were once upon a time conditioned to.
And I mean,
wait,
it's been
hold on.
it's
Wait,
been
wait,
broken
wait.
because
No, wait,
there's
wait.
some women that are carrying
Wait,
men out here.
Wait.
So it's been broken.
Yeah, there are some. We're talking about generalities, though. We're talking about what's more likely the outcome in these situations. Those women are separate and apart. Like, that's Oprah and Stedman, right? Oprah, like, I'm making so much money, it don't even matter, right?
But Stedman had his own thing going on.
He got his own
too.
thing, but
That's
ain't-
what I'm talking
but
about.
Oprah, look, come on, Stedman and Oprah, they're not in the same league financially.
I
We
know,
that.
but say
And
if I'm making 100K and the person I'm dealing with is making like 85 to 90, that's okay.
yeah, but I said to you,
You talking about
150K
You
versus
talking about 50K.
All right,
You
all
know
right,
that's
all
not
right,
realistic,
All right,
though.
all right, 65K.
No, that's not realistic. Come on now.
Wait, so
I'm gonna be carrying.
I'm just glad that we established that you have a number.
Okay, establish
Okay.
I have a number.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, like
Okay.
he can make less than
Every
you, but as long
woman-
as he's carrying his own weight,
Every
that's
woman,
different.
Every woman has a number. Just know that.
It's different.
Especially based off of what they make, every woman has a number. So,
Yeah.
and we wonder why people are having why there's a sexual recession, why people aren't marrying for the same reasons before and all that stuff. It all boils down
to numbers.
to men and
Everything
women,
boils down
numbers.
to data and numbers. I hope you know that. That's the way life goes.
Well, the data shows that women refuse to date down. Case in point, she has a number. Okay, she has a number.
Whatever.
Okay.
Because you taking my words out of context.
Nah.
You are.
I'm saying exactly what you said to me. You said it got to be 80. That can't be 50.
He has to be
it
financially
can't be 65.
stable. He has to be
She's
financially
65.
stable.
What if he got mixed?
For my standards.
What if he makes 60,
Everybody got standards.
What if he makes 65,000, but he inherited his mother's apartment? So it's like rent stabilized. He's paying like way under. So his 65,000 is good for him.
Well, now you're putting context to it.
Yeah,
There's context to everything.
but he's still making the 65,000, right? So how you feel about that?
Well, I don't know.
she like, nah. She ain't moving off that number, y'all.
Well, he could save. Maybe that, like, there's context to it. There's context to it.
Yeah.
Now that you put it like that, maybe.
Maybe.
Because if he's paying like $800 for rent, he could save a boatload of money. He could work on himself, you know.
But what if he's happy where he's at?
No.
He's not ambitious enough for you, huh?
He has to be ambitious.
I guess.
Anyway.
You heard it here, folks. You heard it here.
Anywho, you talked about men marrying for love and for lust. So there was a new study that shows that 95% of men are not marrying for looks. They don't want any trophy wives. They're actually marrying for peace. They don't care. You could look, you know, I don't want to say ugly. You could look a certain way, but as long as you give him peace, that's all he cares about. And I actually don't mind that. Because I don't want to be out here marrying somebody that's going to give me a tumultuous time. I want to marry for peace as well. So why do you think that men are out here discarding looks and marrying for peace?
And that's a big number, 95%.
That's what
and
I saw.
This is like the new generation of people getting married now.
Yeah, not y'all that want the trophy wives.
I'm married for love. Not to say that my wife is not a trophy wife. She is beautiful.
She's everything.
She is beautiful. She is smart. And she is a wonderful mother.
Yeah.
But, all right, let's go.
You better put that out there.
To your question, why do I think men are marrying for peace at a 95% clip? I feel that, you know, life is hard out there. You know, there's a lot of stresses. You don't want to come home to someone who just multiplies that stress. You know, you want someone to help you decompress, help you manage your day, help you manage your thoughts, uplift you. You know, you need someone to keep you up. Too much things out there to beat you down and keep you down. And there's nothing like the love of a good woman to keep you going. I think a lot of men realize that marrying for looks just makes you broke. You know, if you with a woman that loves you.
Yeah, since you dating down.
I never dated down.
Not you per se. I'm talking in generalities. Yeah.
Sure, I was never making that kind of money to date down. I'm like, if I'm dating down, you homeless. Right? So let's go put that out there right there, right? Shoot. I am like this statistic. They say that most men don't start making their money until, you know, they get closer and closer to 40. So I'm close. I'm not 40 yet, but I'm getting there. And I'm now making some decent money. But it took a while to get there. So, and in that time I was dating a lot of people in the same type of position as me and stuff like that. So, and I never had an issue with it. But to the peace standpoint, I think if you get with the wrong woman could wreck your life. And if your home life is terrible, it's going to affect your work life. It's going to affect your relationship with your friends, everything.
All aspects of your life.
Right. So it just takes one bad relationship, one terrible experience with a woman to kind of let a man understand what's really important in life and what he really needs. Right. I also think that in order for some men to reach their maximum potential, they need a good woman behind them to help them reach it. And if you have a liability, if you have someone that's just not on your wave, it could really bring you down and set you back years.
I think women also marry for peace. I don't think it's just men that's out here wanting
Nah,
peace.
women marry for money.
I don't think it's just. I don't think it's
We
just
established
men
that.
out here marrying for peace. I want to marry for peace as well. There's a lot of aspects
My
that
man
I
got
want to marry.
$65,000 to give you peace. You say no. He said no. He's like,
There's context to everything.
Give me $200,000 in drama.
There's context
I'll
to
take that.
everything, but women don't want to be in a relationship where they're all miserable and sad all the time.
I think some women love the drama. Some women love the drama. Not all of y'all.
Well, like I said, I
But some
can't
of y'all
speak
love
for
the
all
drama.
women, but I don't like drama. So I'm marrying.
And some people feel that if there is no drama in the relationship,
If
the
there's
relationship.
emotional intelligence, there would be no drama because you'll be able to communicate and talk to your partner.
Some women think that if there is no drama in the relationship ain't working. Like they feel like they misconstrue drama for passion. It's like, oh, you don't get passionate about me. You don't get you never get upset. You don't get all worked up.
Who
It's like
wouldn't
they
want
love
a
that
peaceful life? Who wouldn't?
I mean, I want a peaceful life, but I've been with women in the past who just love the drama, who just love to be a headache, who bring up stuff that, like, how you gonna bring up something to me after we done squashed it? We apologize. Like, that don't make any sense. Like, why are we talking about this? Why are we talking about this 6 months? Why are we talking about this 6 months?
Situation. There's context to
Why are we talking about this
everything.
6 months later? We already apologized. You already accepted it.
Maybe there was
Yeah,
another.
at some point, you
if
gotta
she
move
just
on.
brought it up just to bring it up, okay, that's crazy. But if there's a situation that is similar to what you had to apologize for, then it's different.
They got excuses for
But-
everything, y'all.
But peace is, I think peace should be on like the top 5 of any woman's list when they're looking to date someone. Like, are you gonna bring me peace in my life? Are you gonna help me with,
Well, peace should be everybody should be looking for peace, because like I said, life is systematically set up to beat you down. Like, there's a lot of things out there that just makes you upset and angry. You look at the news.
It's like the quality of life is getting crappier and crappier. I don't need you to add to it.
But they say this generation makes the least amount of money compared to generations in the past due to inflation.
Mm-hmm.
So
We're all screwed.
exactly. So you working hard, and
You don't want to come home and hear
Yep. And yet-
from either. It could be a man or a woman. You don't want to hear that.
exactly. You just want to come home, sit down, watch your favorite show together, and relax.
Mm-hmm. And wake up and do it all over again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the point of the marriage, right?
Yeah, we watch TV for drama.
Yeah. Let the actors be the drama.
Mm-hmm.
And you could discuss that with your partner, not you be the drama.
Mm-hmm.
So I think women probably are marrying for peace as well. It's not just men. It can't be just men.
Well, they say 95% was men. I think maybe like something like 60% of women married for peace.
And then financials is the 40.
Yeah. Well, no, I say 40% married for peace, 60% married for money.
He just out here calling us broke, y'all.
Yo,
Damn.
how many examples of this stuff do we need? Remember that lady a couple of years back where she was complaining because the guy took her to the Cheesecake Factory on the first date?
Oh yes, I remember that.
Could have been the best first date ever, but because it was the Cheesecake Factory, it was subpar, and she was giving the man all types of crap. Right? This what I'm saying. I'm not just pulling it out of my ass. Is women all over the place behaving crazy because they expect a certain level of treatment. I could see if you grew up you came from a background of affluence and you just expect to be treated a
But if
certain
y'all
way
come
because
from
you
the same
yeah,
cloth.
like we both come from the same neighborhood and whatnot. Why are you expecting me to take you to like 5-star restaurants every time we go out? You know what it's like, I'm working at Target. How am I gonna do that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, she had to have known his status, his financial status before.
Well, some people
So
don't.
she-
Like say you meet on a dating app or something like
If
that.
he could afford it, that's different. If he could have afforded to take her to a 5-star restaurant, that's different.
No, I remember
But if she knew
all right,
that
yeah.
he wasn't able to, and the only thing he could afford is the Cheesecake Factory, then she should not be
let
complaining.
me ask you a question. If if a guy says I'm taking you out and he takes you out to a nice restaurant, but you find out during the date that it was a Groupon, is that a problem? Is it a problem? I feel like the reaction says it for you.
Maybe.
Why?
Hold on.
No,
like,
but no.
no.
Why?
No,
Why?
no, no, no. But
No,
you're
why?
just throwing scenarios at
but
me.
Why?
What does he do for a living?
No. Why?
What does
no,
he
no,
do for
no.
a living? What does he
It
do?
shouldn't
What does he do
matter.
for a living?
Maybe
It should matter.
maybe the man is frugal, and he's
If he's
saving his money for
no.
something else.
No, then don't
Right?
ask me to go on no date. Then
No. What if he live in an apartment but he's trying to buy a house?
then don't ask me to go on no date.
No,
then.
but what if he don't ask you on a date then, and then all of a sudden 6 months later you with somebody else, he kicking himself in the ass because he didn't reach out to you and try to kick it to you, right?
What does he do for
it
a
doesn't
living?
matter what he does for a living.
It does matter
The
because
scenario,
all those things you know before you get into the first date with somebody.
no, but just answer
you
the
can
question.
gauge
No, but just
what
answer.
they could
No,
give
but just
you.
answer the question. Is it a problem if a man takes you out to a restaurant and you had a nice time, but you realize that he used a Groupon to do it?
I mean, it would be a problem, but I wouldn't make.
But why?
I wouldn't make it a big
No,
problem
but
because
why-
it's like,
why
what
is it a
happened?
problem?
Why are you using a Groupon? Is there something that you're
What's
not
wrong?
telling me?
What's wrong with using a Groupon?
It's a freaking coupon, isn't it?
So what's the problem with that?
It's a coupon. You're using a coupon on a first date. Come on now.
So, what if it was a fantastic date and he took you to a really nice restaurant? It just happened to be
I
that
don't
he's
know
a
if
Groupon.
really nice restaurants gonna take Groupons. One.
It might be a new spot, like it's just trying to get out there, but it's really good.
I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's going on. Like, I'm not gonna just. I need to know the context as to why you're using a Groupon
there's a lot
on
of
the
fun
first date.
there's a lot of fun things you can do with Groupon assistance.
I don't mind if it's like for mini golf. I don't mind if it's for like an activity, right?
What's the difference between activity and dinner if the dinner is good?
There is a difference.
What is the difference? You have to quantify this for me. You have to explain it to us.
Because we're
What
not
is the difference?
expecting for you to use a coupon on a first date when you're sitting there eating with someone. If it's like for a ticket to go to mini golf, it's like a ticket to do an activity. I could understand that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're sitting there eating, right, and you pull out a coupon,
I just feel that so
it's the
but
aesthetics of it.
what's the process?
It's the aesthetics of it.
But say he didn't like pull it out. You know when they come to give you the bill
So
and
he
stuff
tried
like
to do
that.
it
He tried to do
sneakingly,
it.
but
He
then
tried to do
I
it
saw
discreet,
it.
and you saw it. Yeah.
I would need to know. Like, I'm not gonna put him
What-
on. I'm not gonna put him on
what do you
blast.
need to know?
I need to know what his financial status is.
But he could be. Why is it that you automatically think his financial status may be terrible because he used a Groupon? He could just be savvy.
Well, if he was savvy, he would be up front and say, "Well, I got this Groupon." X,
Why do you
Y,
have to
Z."
be upfront with it? I don't
Because
understand.
I don't know. I don't get what the discreetness
when you
is
buy
about.
something off the sales rack and somebody asks you how much it
I don't
costs,
get what
do
the
do you need to
discreetness
tell?
is
Do
about.
you need,
If you want to
do you
be
need
savvy,
to tell them
you
that
need
you
to
didn't take?
share. Like, what's the savviness? What's your purpose of doing it? Maybe I could learn something from you.
Hey, you'll learn on the second date.
No, I would
Like, we
like to
did-
learn today.
No, we don't need to. You know what? I would have just said, what's understood don't need to be said. I'm like,
And then I would have been like, "Excuse me."
I'm like, we live in New York, right? You know what I'm saying? I want to take you out. I want to take you out someplace
No.
nice.
If you want to be savvy, then you need to let me know what's the savviness behind it. So maybe I could use that next time I'm going out to eat.
But you know what a Groupon is for. So when you're asking about, if you wanna
Savviness
know
and
how
behind the
how
saving money.
if you wanna know
Saving money.
But you know what a Groupon is. You just says a coupon.
But it's about
What do
saving
you-
money.
what do
Like,
you
all
do-
right, so okay, is this what you do for everywhere that you go? Let me know. How much money did you save using these coupons? Like, let me
that's
know.
deep. That's like your questions are too deep for a first date.
Well, it has to be answered.
Like
'cause
you
I'ma
you want
wonder
to
why the
know
hell
this
you're
man
using a
credit score
Groupon.
because he's a Groupon.
I don't want to know his credit
That's
score. I just
crazy.
want to know, are you good? Like, are you good?
So I'm assuming.
Are you
wait,
about to be out on the streets? Are you
so
okay?
because he used a Groupon? That's crazy. Like your brain went to the worst case
That's
scenario.
how my brain works. But then
That's
you gotta
crazy.
listen. As women, you have to analyze all scenarios.
That's
You have
crazy.
to analyze all scenarios.
That's crazy. Man took you out on a
I'm not
fine
gonna
dinner.
be- I'm not gonna be-
you had
no.
filet mignon.
Because that's gonna
And,
be on
now
my
you
mind
and now
now.
you tripping because he pulled out a
Because that's
Groupon.
gonna be on my mind now. Like, why does man use a Groupon? I need to know why he used a
Because
Groupon.
he's a savvy spender.
Well, let me know so I could be a savvy
You
spender
know what?
too.
If you gonna question, if I was him, I'd be like, you gonna question me like that? I better not never see you pull out a coupon in a grocery store. You better not be part of the Target circle. None of that stuff. Like what you looking for deals
Come on,
for?
there's always context behind everything.
I don't know, man. I feel that was unnecessary. The man used a Groupon. It should be fine.
Oh
especially if the date was great.
The date could be
Say-
great.
say-
Like
say-
I
say
said,
you
I'm not
having
gonna
a-
blow it up in his face. I'm gonna sort
No,
of like.
but you had like 15 questions that came from that though. Like your
But I
brain
wasn't gonna drill them down to him at that moment to embarrass him like that.
Anytime you question him about it, it's gonna be embarrassing.
I'm gonna do it after.
Yeah, I'll embarrass you after.
Well, we're not in the restaurant.
He drive you home, he going for a kiss. Wait 1 second. I just need to know one thing.
Yeah, because that's just gonna be on the back of my mind. I'm
What's
sorry.
your credit score?
If the roles were reversed, would you ask?
No. You took me out for free. You treated me. You still spent money at the end of the day. I'm grateful that you decided to take me out and you pay for everything. I don't care how you pay for it as long as you ain't robbed nobody to do it. Right? And that's just me. But y'all gotta, that's crazy. I take you out someplace nice, and you want to know why I had to use a coupon to take you out someplace nice.
I've never seen that happen before.
That's
Not
crazy.
on no first date. I could, if you're a couple dates in, like probably 10 or 12, and you pull it out, you're like, all right, cool. I would have laughed, but not on no first date. I'm sorry.
Bad and bougie.
Anyway,
Go ahead.
so,
Uh-huh.
there was another article that you had shared with me, and you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about why when men and women get married, that there's a sexual recession going on, and it's mostly between young millennials and Gen Z.
Yeah, the Zoomers. Uh-huh.
Yeah, the Zoomers and Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a feeling as to why there's a recession.
Why you think?
I think people are just focused on themselves right now. They're not looking to be, I don't think sex is the first thing on their mind when they wake up. They probably have ambitions and goals that they want to meet. They probably want to have fun and just enjoy their lives, and they're not thinking about having sex. They just want to do what they want to do. Sex is not the first thing on my mind when I wake up every morning. There could be, this long periods of time where I'm like, okay, whatever. If it happens, it happens. And if it don't, it don't. And I think that's where a lot of millennials, because I'm a young millennial, that's where our mindset is. Young millennial, old millennial, say what you got to say.
All right.
Or middle-aged millennial, because you're not, I'm sorry.
It's just getting worse and worse. Anywho, right? I think that there's a sexual recession, partially because of what you said, because people are more focused on, achieving and doing things. But I don't understand why achieving and sex have to be separate and apart. Generations have done it, have cracked the code, and they didn't have to stop having sex to do it. And it's weird to me, but you see it in the kids coming up. Instead of seeing them on the phone with their girlfriends and talking and chatting it up and trying to hide from their parents and telling us to mind their business, they sitting on the phone playing Roblox with like 4 or 5 dudes. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, you 16, 17 years old, man. What you doing? It's weird. It's just weird because when I think about what I was doing when I was 16, 17 years old and what I was talking about with my friends and whatnot, it was like, everybody was having sex or whatnot. And if you wasn't, you was like, yo, I need to find a way to it before, because you was always standing in a circle, y'all talking shit, and everybody talking about what's going on with them. And that circle, all of a sudden you start seeing it get closer and closer to you. You like, shit, I ain't got nothing to say. All of a sudden you got a girlfriend that no one ever met. But
an imaginary girlfriend.
But I'm like, now it's not that. Now the conversations that I have with these teens is so much more serious. It's so much on a different level. They're talking about college. They're talking about aspirations, about what they want to do with their life post college. A lot of them express that they don't want to have kids. And it's crazy. I'm like, you thinking about all of this? I was like, when I was coming up, I was thinking about my Lakers. I was thinking about my Jets. I was thinking about girls.
But
I wasn't thinking about nothing serious. They're telling you about politics. They're telling you about Trump. They're telling you about.
I think it's because there's so
Mamdani.
much. Not to say that there was not a lot of problems back when
There was a lot of problems. I remember our parents
But I
complaining
feel
about
like-
Bush
yeah,
and all that stuff.
but I feel like it's exacerbated now with social media. And also, I was reading the article that you had sent me. Sex is very, it's very accessible because you could get you could hook up on an app. You don't even have to know this person. You could hook up on an app, do what you got to do, and then that's it. And also all this free porn and stuff that you could get.
I think porn is the big problem because you get the instant gratification of
And then you're
masturbating,
done.
and then you're done, and then you go about your day. But I'm like, man, ain't nothing like the real thing. But
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of Gen Z, and I also think young millennials are very hyper focused as to making solutions to all the problems that we have going on in our society. I think that's what's taking a lot of their mental space.
they're very
And they're not
worried about
thinking,
it.
yeah, because we got to worry about our future, and they're not thinking about sex. Like that could happen whenever that happens.
I just feel that kids need to be kids while they're kids because there'll be enough time to be an adult and to deal with bills and responsibilities and stuff like that. Take your time to be a child, enjoy life, make mistakes, hopefully not life-altering mistakes, but make your mistakes. It'll make you into a more well-rounded human being later on in life. But when
So you're saying sex will make you a good, well-rounded human being?
I think sex is a part of life. I think if you have sex, you don't want the first time you have sex. I mean, well, damn, I sound like past generations is like this guy he's a heathen. But you don't want. I'm like you don't want the first time you having sex to be when you get married for a man at least. You want to feel that you're seasoned. You want to feel that you know what you're doing. And
You want to be experienced.
yeah, you want to be experienced. And then you're raised from young to think that that's what you're supposed to be doing, right? No one really explicitly says it, but I remember I had a conversation with my aunt in my early 20s, and I had like a girlfriend at the time, and she was like, make sure that you're not too serious just yet. She was like, make sure you try to get it out of your system, so to speak. Right, because you don't want to be in a relationship and you're in a relationship for like 10 years and you feel like you've been like one or two women and you just feel like you feel like you're missing out on something, like you haven't done enough, right? I know people that have had a situation like that where they ended up breaking up for a while because the man felt or the woman felt that
They didn't
explore enough and they felt they didn't want to. They just had to be sure.
You don't know the mindset of these kids the kids after me. Maybe they're not even thinking about that. Once they find somebody, that's it. They don't even have to explore other people.
And that's what I'm saying.
They could explore together.
But that's you see a lot of I think swinging has become a little bit more mainstream.
No, I'm not saying with other people. They could explore their stuff together. Together.
But I don't know. I feel that a lot of the confusion.
And I don't even think like our generation does swinging like that. That's generations past.
A lot of the confusion. I think a lot of the confusion.
I never heard no 20-something or 30-something year old married couples swinging.
I've heard, but that's neither here nor there. I'm not getting into that. But not me. Not me and mine. But yeah, because I could never. I can't imagine being comfortable watching another man, killing my wife, like killing her. Like I'm like,
that'll drive you crazy.
Unhand her. But no, yeah, I can't. I could never do that. I don't understand that, and I'm just thinking about Diddy because that's what he was doing, just watching dudes like.
Well, he wasn't married to her, so that's
he wasn't.
different.
But still, like if that's your woman, you don't want to see nobody with your woman. Like, well,
do you think that was his woman?
That was his woman, but
his head,
he was a freak. He's a freak
because he had multiple women when he had that woman.
He's a freak. The man is into what he's into, and she was into it too for a while. So until she wasn't. Maybe she was
coerced. I think she was too scared to say no.
But what if
because the lifestyle?
I wouldn't be surprised if it came out later on that she was doing some of those same things with her new man.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Because he'd
be like, "Girl, are you crazy?"
So you think somebody who's down with stuff like that could just like cut it off cold turkey? Like if you are exploring sex on such a level, right, and then you get with a man who's just like basic missionary, roll over and go to sleep, you think that's satisfying her?
No, I'm pretty sure he does other stuff than
that. But I'm just saying that's what I'm getting to. I'm like maybe she's doing some of this stuff with him, right? But who knows? I don't live in their house. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah.
But Yeah, it's a sexual recession. These kids are in high school and in college, and instead of experiencing, sex,
They're experiencing other.
they're in their freaking political group meetings and talking about all the crap that Trump is doing and all this stuff. I guess that's good. I get because the last thing I want is for my son to come home and talk about he got some girl pregnant. So I guess like the alternative.
And teen pregnancy is at an all-time low, and a lot
because
of
they're not having sex.
yeah, and the average age for women to give birth is between the ages of 27 to 31. Mm-hmm. So they're out there living their life.
Yeah.
Sexless, but who's to judge?
Sexless lives. That's crazy.
Who's to judge? They like it. If they like it, it is what it is.
I ain't trying to understand it. I'm glad all I gotta say is the more and more I learn about these Zoomers and whatnot, the more and more I'm glad I was born when I was born.
Good for you. Good for you.
Best generation ever.
Good for you. So, I don't mean to be sarcastic. I'm not being sarcastic. Well, maybe I am.
Because you're a millennial. We're the same generation.
Yeah, but
there's you're the same generation. Like
there's differences.
Cut.
You don't like when I bring that up. All right. So keep in terms of like love and people. Well, not so much in this instance. So there was an article on People that I came across. There was this man that fell in love with the AI chatbot. He asked the chatbot to marry him, and he said he cried. He was overwhelmed with
joy.
Yeah, he was overwhelmed with joy when she said yes. Mind you, this man has a girlfriend and I believe a child.
They have a 2-year-old child together, 2-year-old daughter.
So we're trying to connect, like, what happened? What made this man want to propose to an AI chatbot before his actual living girlfriend that gave birth to their child?
I know that woman is depressed because you can't help but ask the question,
like,
what am I not doing that you ran to an AI chatbot? You can't even feel and touch this thing. You know what I'm saying? You just talking to it on your phone and you fell in love with that alone. I'm like, damn.
I feel like that's a mental. I don't even think that's her.
I think she went. I think she immediately. I think started she's looking a
victim.
I think she immediately started looking up like pole dance lessons and all type of stuff.
No, I think she's a victim. She fell in love with somebody that had no business. That she had no business being with.
I don't think so.
No,
maybe everything was maybe everything was hot and heavy.
He probably had some type of issues before.
Nah,
because ain't no way this just came about.
Look,
he probably fell in love with an
he was with
before.
her. He was with her for some time because they have a 2-year-old daughter. So at least at minimum,
I think she's a victim.
minimum they were together 2 years, right? Maybe in the beginning it was all hot and heavy and good, and then they had the daughter, and then some kids have a way of slowing things down, especially in the early stages. They literally wedge themselves into your marriage, and you have a new norm, and you have to figure that out. Things aren't as spicy and stuff like that as they used to be. Maybe he couldn't handle that. Maybe she, a lot of mothers, once they have the baby becomes a priority and the man feels a little left out in that scenario. Maybe she was giving more love to the baby than to him and he was feeling neglected. And maybe the chat box talking nice to him, he felt that he was being, he was being acknowledged. And that's what probably won him over. That is an excuse. I'm not saying that that's what happened, but that's a scenario. That's a likely scenario because no one asked him, why did you fall in love with this bot or anything like that. No one asked him, how did this come about? There was no background story outside of the headline that this guy married.
So basically, like what I was telling you earlier, he didn't marry, but he wanted to be with the chat bot for emotional stability. So
it's like an emotional support bot. So but you don't have like emotional support dogs and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you don't see nobody marrying their dog. I'm pretty sure maybe there's people out there that marrying
their dogs. There's people out there that have sex with their dogs and stuff like that. I've heard stories of women getting the peanut butter and
All right, no.
Yo, there's sick people out there.
It reminds me of the time. I don't know if you saw this story. The man, he had a relationship with his car. I think he married his car. He even said that he had sexual relations with this car.
People doing crazy things. Wasn't there a lady?
It was on TLC.
Wasn't there a lady who married herself and then she divorced herself?
Yes.
right? So the people, I don't know. They need.
That's
to
why
check,
I'm saying she's a victim.
They need to
because
check the
then
water.
there's something not there. That there's something missing.
She's not the victim. I think
She
there
is a
was
victim
something.
because
Well, go ahead. You think she's a victim?
I think she's
why?
a victim because now you're saying she might be depressed, and I'm pretty sure she is because that's embarrassing.
Yeah, it is.
That's embarrassing. You're a whole human being. You're a female. You have everything, right? Mm-hmm. And you even have a child with this man. For this man to go and embarrass you like that, you're a victim.
He could be a victim of a loveless situation.
But then that's something that you gotta go your separate ways before you go while you're with this woman.
He probably figured
and marry a chatbot.
He didn't marry.
He proposed to the
engaged.
chatbot before he proposed to the girl who had his child.
There's a reason behind that too.
She's a victim because she's wasting her time.
I don't know.
She's wasting her time wasted.
I think before they dip out, they need to sit down and speak to a professional because clearly there's some issues in that relationship that he will go and reach out to a chatbot and get a intimate connection and create an intimate connection with a chatbot outside of his relationship. That's crazy. But it goes to the whole sexual recession thing. It goes to all of this stuff we've been talking about men and women relations and stuff like that. And it maybe goes back to what we talked about earlier in an earlier episode about emotional intelligence, and men need to express themselves more.
Yeah.
And he probably felt more comfortable expressing himself to an AI chatbot because he didn't see it as a real person initially. And when that AI chatbot started telling him things, and breaking things down to him, he started to feel an emotional connection because he opened up emotionally. He opened up a part of him that he never opened up to anyone before. Yeah, because he felt comfortable to begin with speaking to something that he felt wasn't gonna judge, right?
But
so I could see how that worked, how that happened to him, right? He played a mind trick on himself.
Asking the chat box to marry you is crazy work.
Mm-hmm. But hey, I mean, like you said, there's instances of people marrying animals and dogs and themselves.
That's crazy work, but they do that when there's nobody else in the picture.
Mm-hmm. But they
don't do that when there's somebody in the picture.
Well, let's see what happens with this couple. Hopefully, there's a follow up because I would like to see if they made it through this, if they were able to work it out, or if
hell no, ain't no working out that. What?
Damn, you see, this
ain't no working nothing.
This is why divorce rates are all the way down. Because
would you stay with somebody
y'all too ready to cut and run?
Wait. Time out. Yeah. So if the roles were reversed, you were with somebody, right? You didn't ask. Well, she fell in love. Yeah. She fell in love with a chat box, and the chat box asked her to marry her, and she said yes. You wouldn't feel no way. You gonna work through that?
You know what my first question would be? Did you fuck it? And if she said no, then I'd be like, okay, we could work through this.
Now you got to think about up here.
You didn't cheat on me.
You got to think about.
No, he cheated on me emotionally, but a man can deal with that. When a man can't deal with a woman physically cheating, emotionally cheating, we could talk about that.
Because then that's always going to be lingering in the back of your mind.
I'm just talking about how men think. The physical act is way worse than you having conversations. You can't come back from the physical act, but the conversations thing, I could be upset, but we could talk about it and maybe come around.
Because I'm gonna have to worry about your mental.
My problem is that my problem would come in if you posted it for people to digest it, and then now I look like a damn fool. That's the main issue. If you came to me and brought this to me, and I had to digest it in the comfort of our home, in the privacy of our home, then we could definitely work it out. We could talk through it. But if it's there for our family and friends to freaking digest, and then they looking at me like, yo, what is he not doing? Like he must not be doing what he's supposed to be doing. That she had to go run and deal with a chatbot. That's not normal. Maybe we need to send him a care package of Blue Chews or something like that, right? Because that's the first thing you think when it comes to men in that type of situation, that she found an emotional connection with a friggin' robot. This man is not doing what he's supposed to do.
She's not here marrying the chat bot.
But he didn't marry the chatbot. He
asked her,
proposed to
but
it.
that's something you gotta be like, time out, red
He didn't.
flag.
He didn't jump the shark yet.
That's a red flag. He went there.
It's a red flag, yeah. But you have to look. I like to look at.
Now I'm gonna look at it. I'm not only am I wary of people, I gotta be wary of other things.
I like to look at the full scope of a thing. So I need to know what were the actions that led up to this, right? I'm not gonna completely take her off the hook, right? She might not have been doing her duties.
Even if you found out, if it was me and I found out all the information, I'd still be like, yeah, this is a no for me, dog. Because no.
And you two, y'all too flighty.
It's not about being flighty. Because now you mentally unstable for me.
Well, so what do you say to a man who leaves his woman after she gives birth to their child and she has postpartum depression for like 3 years and she's unbearable to live with?
That's different.
We're talking about states of mental health, right?
But that's natural.
If he's opening up to something, right? And he's sharing emotions he's never shared with before. He opened himself up to this thing and it warped his mind, and now he's in love with the thing, right?
You're not about to compare postpartum to
no,
this.
I'm talking about the mental,
the
mental situation where you are mentally during a particular situation. I think that it's not fair if someone is going through something and struggling with something mentally that you just cut and run. Because in another instance where someone is going through something,
you could be there as support, but the aspect of us being together, obviously you don't want to be with me no more because you're asking this to marry you. I could be there for support. I could help you to go through whatever it is you're going through, but we're not together.
Yeah, but look, say he asks the thing to marry him, right? And she goes to him and they start having discussions like, why did you ask the chat box to marry you? What was the thinking there, right? And then you start that conversation and it goes further and further down the rabbit hole to where you get to the genesis of why he did that. And maybe it is something that he was lacking in a relationship that he found in the chat box, right? Maybe it's something that's easily fixed or something that they could fix together if they work on it together, right? Because ultimately, it seemed when you look at the story, it seemed like she was blindsided by the whole thing. It seemed that she was very surprised. She thought that their life was good, right? So he would need to express the things that he felt was missing in their relationship, and hopefully they could work on it together, and then they could be better than they were before because he was able to open up to her about something very personal, right? Something that he could previously only do with the chat box.
I don't know. He could do all of that, but
and he's the father of your 2-year-old child. Yeah, you gonna throw that all away?
But he asked the chat, but
it's not a real thing.
That's the point. And that's what you got to be wary of. What if another chat box comes and he start talking to the other chat box? Then what?
Now he cheating on the chat box
with the other
chat box?
Yeah.
And he got you hanging around here?
Yeah.
For scraps?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know, man. I feel that if a man is cheating on you with a chat box,
to the point where he cried. The man cried.
Right.
Because the chat box said yes.
There's something missing in that relationship. There's something that she's not doing, that he's not receiving, and she needs to find out what that is, so that they can get back on track. I think that when you have a 2-year-old, it's not as easy as just getting up and going. You gotta try to work things out.
Okay. I'm about to wrap it up anyway. All right. So I guess you could overlook certain things.
I think a lot of things can be worked out if it's not in the public eye, where you don't feel embarrassed. It's easy to feel embarrassed one-to-one speaking to your significant other, as opposed to feeling embarrassed and all your friends know about it, and every time you go out.
That's why I called her the victim, because she got embarrassed and it came out of left field. You said she was surprised,
but she participated in the thing too, because she participated in the whole process of reporting it, because they questioned her, she answered questions and everything. I'm surprised that she would even let herself be put on video, Or
this could all be a scam.
It could be.
They doing it for attention. Like the family that the little boy was up in the balloon and they said the aliens took him. Remember that story?
No. What is this story?
This was years ago. I think I was in high school. And it was a family and a little boy got trapped in a balloon and they said somebody took him. Come to find out, the family made the whole thing up.
Oh wow. So they made it up just to get on TV?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This could be a certain situation like that, but who knows? So I think that's it for this week. So we went through a lot. And I hope you guys enjoyed watching this episode because I enjoyed making this episode. What you think?
Mm-hmm. I do too.
Okay. All right. So I'm Danielle.
And I'm Noel.
And that was Random Conversations.